In today's video, let's explore 5 ways your parents hold you back. Now there's many ways, probably in the hundreds, that a parent can harm a child as they're raising said child. When we think of all the different ways that can include verbally, mentally, emotionally, physically, and so on, it's a lot of ways, but today I'm just picking five that tie in more to emotional harm, and I chose these randomly, but it's what I see a lot in my private practice, so let's start with number 1. The parent or parents try to be your friend versus being a healthy parent. Being a parent is not the same as being one's friend. You're the parent. You're there to guide and mentor and help mold the child. This is where they're learning boundaries and healthy ways of interacting with others. They're learning what's right and wrong. They're being taught. You're the teacher. You can be friendly with your child, of course, but that's different from being a friend. A friend implies that we're on the same level. Parents are not on the same level. It's not healthy for a child to view the parent that way, and they suffer for it in the long run. Children cry out to have somebody guide them. They want to be led in life, especially when they're quite young. That's the parent's role, hopefully in a healthy way, obviously. When we think of a friend, it's perhaps somebody we stay up with for hours on the phone, sharing all our adult problems. That's not what a child needs. They have enough on their plate growing up without having to be burdened by the parent's problems. Raising a child this way creates a child who doesn't know what their own identity is because they're in a role. The child needs to see somebody who's in charge, and when a parent isn't in charge, the child will find ways probably to challenge the parent, and the child may be then seen as rebellious. They're out of control, but they may be acting this out as a way to get the parent to actually step in and properly parent them. Number 2, in raising you, they compare you to others, your siblings or other kids in the neighborhood or at your school and so on. This is not healthy because we're all different. The child's uniqueness needs to be celebrated. Each child brings something different to the table, and when a parent tries to lump the kids together on some level, the child may feel very inferior. What's wrong with me? Well, there may be nothing wrong with them, but when you have a parent who's telling you you're not good enough because little Johnny down the block is doing this much better than you, we'll talk about creating an inferiority complex in your child from the get-go. Now we want to zoom in on that child's strengths and support them in their strengths, not compare them to others. Sometimes parents may do this by insulting the child, making them feel worthless, somehow bad-mouthing you, making you feel guilty just for being or just trying to grow up, right? You need guidance, and here's a parent bad-mouthing you, comparing you to others. And in comparing you to others, they may be setting impossible standards. Just because one child over here is good at doing something doesn't mean the other child has to be good at doing that. Each child is a unique individual personality and person. Now, the parent may be doing this to compete with a peer group of parents in their neighborhood or their church or something. They think it's somehow some sort of quick fix to get the child to get going the way they want them to. In a way, the path of least resistance, right? Could be the parent has their own insecurities and doubts about how they grew up, their own insecurities. They don't feel good enough in their life, and so now they're placing this on their child in terms of thinking this may be a way to help them, but a child is never going to thrive with that kind of help. Another way a parent can hold a child back, which is number 3, is they make you think that you owe them. To you parents out there, they don't owe you anything. You're the parent who decided to have a child. You got together with a man or a woman and you made a baby. This is now on you. It's your full responsibility. You have to now chart out their life, take care of all their basic needs, guide them in a healthy way, hopefully. That's up to you. The child doesn't owe you for that. That's your basic duty. If you don't want to do that, then don't become a parent. Once you have your parenting hat on, the child doesn't owe you anything. If you do a good job, chances are the child is going to be naturally grateful, very thankful to you, emulate you in different ways, identify with you as a healthy role model, love you through thick and thin, and take care of you perhaps as you get older because you did it unconditionally. You did it out of love and nurturing, wanting the best for that child, helping them find their wings, not clipping their wings. None of what I just said right there ties into owing you. That's a completely different thing, and that's unhealthy. Number 4, parents can hold a child back by loving them too much. A parent may be hearing this and thinking, how can I love them too much? I love them to death. But there's a fine line when you love a child and then that crosses over into emotionally smothering them, emotionally taking them over somehow. You love them so much that you're denying their right to find their own identity. You're loving them so much that you're making it be all about you, the parent. You're loving them so much that they absolutely must be what I want them to be when they grow up. You're loving them so much that they're now turned off by love. If this is what love is, I don't want any part of it when I'm an adult. So be careful of how you're defining love. There is a point where a parent can love too much and it's actually harming the child. And number 5, you make it uncomfortable or difficult for the child to find their own voice. And by voice, I mean literally a voice. A child has to put things into words on their own. Speak it, verbally say it. This means a parent has to back off, allow the space for the child to communicate what's going on in here. Sometimes a child may stutter or have a hard time expressing themselves or beat around the bush or just give one-word answers or something because they know the parent wants to roll over them. Somehow the parent is going to try to turn around or change what the child authentically wants to say. So then they just kind of give up. They know it's not safe to do it. Or maybe a parent is listening per se, but holding in their angst. And they want to be seen as the good parent. So now they tell their spouse or significant other, can you believe what he or she said to me? You better correct that right now. You better let them know that that's not appropriate. So now they're dumping that on their husband or wife, which is now an additional manipulation to the child because now they're thinking maybe they have a voice, they're getting comfortable with it, but the parent who's hearing it, let's say in this case it's the mother, is now using it against them, scapegoating them somehow down the line, gaslighting them later on. Or as I mentioned, telling the husband and having the husband do the dirty work and get on the child for, don't you ever say that again. That's not fair, and it's going to greatly confuse the child and rob them of their voice. So as I mentioned earlier, there's many, many more. I hope these 5 have been helpful to you parents out there. And or if you're a victim of this, if you're now an adult and you have parents like this, hopefully it'll help you understand why you're troubled with some of these topics in your adult life perhaps. Did this trigger you in any way? Then that's a good thing. Look at the trigger and it'll help you understand perhaps how you were raised, where your identity was thwarted in these 5 ways that I just mentioned. So please add some more ways below in the comments. I'd love to hear what you have to say. Please subscribe to my mental health YouTube channel if you like these kind of videos. And until next week, this is Brad Shore signing off from Ask a Shrink.